Hattie and I am back with part 2 of Ivory's Girly home. So this is going to be the whole of the interior for the build. This is the part which I was really looking forward to, mainly because I have enjoyed doing interiors recently. It's something that I didn't used to enjoy, but recently when I have been doing a lot of interiors, it's given me a lot of time to think about the backstories of the Sims that would live here, and I really enjoy doing this part. So I was pretty happy to just relax and do this bit because it is relaxing. I find it really easy to do the interiors as well. I mean, opposed to the exteriors that can be pretty tricky sometimes. But what I was doing at this time, I was trying to get the wallpapers correct. I was thinking a lot about the different colours that I'd want to use, and I was thinking a lot about the kitchen. I honestly thought that at this point, what I was doing wrong is I was trying to imagine this house as a completely different build because I wanted the interior to be a little bit traditional. But what I really found was it didn't match the outside whatsoever. So what I did is I started changing it around at this point, adding some pastel colours, which I'm really into at the moment. And I just kind of took it from there. So the actual hallway was a orangey creamy colour at first, and I did go through a lot of changes in this room, so you'll see that because it goes from blue to pink to blue to pink again, and I think that it did end up being a little bit pinker. But that was what I thought in the hallway. I thought with it being a girly house, I would include a lot of pink, but also the traditional features, like traditional kind of objects, I guess, like old drawers, old chairs, things like that that would really change the build in that way so that it wouldn't look too modern. That's what I was thinking about. I was also thinking about changing the wood colours. I wasn't really set on it, but I did actually use the Spooky Stuff Pack wood in the end, which I absolutely adore. I know that it's supposed to be spooky, but there's nothing spooky about that wood. I've got to say, it looks absolutely amazing, and I've got to say it's probably my favourite wood at the moment, and I always use it in my builds. So if you don't have it though, and you just want to have this build without it, then you can just change the wood back to something else. You could use a base game wood or something like that, because you can still download this house even if you don't have any of the stuff packs that I use for it. What I was doing as well is I was trying to make sure that everything matched in here. That bookcase to the right, just by the stairs there, really didn't match anything, and I was very worried about it. So what I did in the end is I actually got rid of the whole thing, and I think that we were doing a lot better without it, to be quite honest. I think that it didn't really match this house, and I think that it looked too traditional. I think I needed a brighter colour. I mean, that was probably the point which I was most wishing that we could change colours in The Sims 4, but we can't, unfortunately. But if we could, I would have changed it on a colour wheel, and I'd had it a slightly lighter shade than we already have. But what I was doing is I was adding some chairs around to the build. There were some places in this house which I just couldn't find anything to fit there, like this little bit here. So what I did is I used it as a really small sitting room. Not really sure why, but I mean, you could change it to whatever you wanted if you wanted to do that, if you want to go and use this house. But what I did is I just left it being like that because I still think that it looked nice, and I was pretty keen on it. I mean, it wasn't my favourite thing to do with the area. In fact, if I'd have thought on, I'd have probably expanded it a little bit and maybe had a piano there or something, but I still like it. I think that it looks good. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was testing out white. I thought white would be a really elegant colour for this build, but I still wasn't 100% because it really did take the femininity, I think that's the word, but whatever it did, it took it away from it, and I wasn't happy with it. I thought that this build needed more pink. It needed to be a little bit more girly to match the outside. So that's why I started changing everything to pink at this point. What I didn't do though is I didn't change the pink rugs that were going down the corridor because they were too fluorescent. That was too much of a bright pink and it didn't really match anything. So I left them like that, just being white. But this was the kitchen in here. This was a really lovely room. I'm really happy with how this room turned out, but I don't think that it matches this build whatsoever at this point. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to do a different build with this kitchen, because what I did is I got everything together in here. I really liked every single item that was in here. I was really proud of it, but I just think that the colours didn't really go with the build whatsoever. It doesn't look traditional, it looks modern, but it doesn't look girly either. So what I did was I started changing things around. I started recolouring things, which really helped me out. And I just started adding some decorations. I added some flowers, things like that, a teddy bear. I was thinking a lot about who would actually live in this house, and I was thinking maybe this would be a family of maybe 5. I'm guessing. I'm not sure though. Maybe 3 children, 2 adults, and it would be something like that. And I think that it would be a really fun home. Maybe the father would be a little bit feminine, or maybe the mum would be too pushy and she'd just be like, I want my whole house pink. I'm not sure, maybe they both like pink, but I mean, I was just kind of thinking about the characters that would live here. If anybody has any ideas, then just let me know in the comments, because I love to think of backstories for my builds. Love to think about the families that would actually live here. I mean, who would live in this house? I am just not sure. But what I was doing is I was filling up the kitchen. After this point, I'd had a little bit of a recolor in here, but I still wasn't 100% with it. But what I was doing is I was testing out some plants in here. The plants that we got with the new stuff pack look a lot nicer inside, because the old ones that we had, I mean, I say old ones, I mean the base game ones that we have, they don't look fantastic inside. They look really dark, but I think that the new ones for the new stuff pack look pretty nice. So I was trying those out at that point too. I was also changing the floor pattern because I really liked a little bit of pink in here. I know that that tile isn't necessarily pink, but it's like a reddy pink, and I think that it really goes. And I was pretty happy with how the kitchen turned out. So that is how the kitchen ends up. I think I included everything in there that I can possibly think of. I mean, sometimes I leave things out, but it's just an accident. I mean, it happens sometimes with my builds. Nothing that I've done recently though. I mean, maybe some of my older builds have missing stoves, stuff like that, but not any of my recent builds. All of my recent builds have pretty much everything in. But this is the part when I started moving on to the dining room, which was a pink and blue room by the end, I think. So what I did was I used the pink and blue rug, which I really liked, and I just added some blue features around the room. I left the colour of the walls being that blue colour, at least I think I did. I'm not too sure, but what I did is I started just adding some items around. I enlarged that picture, and at first I felt like the picture was too big, but then I had a step back and I thought, actually, it's not that big. It's not as big as I thought it would be, and I actually quite like it being like that, especially with the decorations either side of the fireplace. I think that it looks really special, so that's how I left it. I was thinking about what to put over this area. I was thinking maybe a chair or something, but then I thought, no, we have so many chairs here. There is just no point. So what I did is I tested out the different plants. I ended up going with the new one that we got from the Romantic Garden stuff pack. So you would have seen that as well in this speed build. In case you didn't know what it was like before, you can see it now. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was just adding the last little bits of lighting and things like that, making sure the rooms were all really bright. I was also going around and I was adding some curtains to the doorways because I love that. I think that it gives a really amazing effect. It looks a little bit hippie-ish, which I'm really into at the moment. I never used to be into the whole hippie style. In fact, I went to a school which was a very bohemian school, I guess. I originally went to an all-girls school, but I changed schools when I was about 13 or 14 and went to a really bohemian-styled school, and everybody wore bright colours. There were beads on all the doors and stuff like that. It was a really artsy school, but I enjoyed it, and it brought me back to memories of going there. I only went there for a couple of years, but still, I remember it pretty clearly. But I never actually wanted to go there. It was only because my school originally was going bankrupt. It was losing a lot of money, and the school was closing down, so I had to find somewhere that I could go to school. I think from the age of about 13, maybe 14, so 14 to 16 I went there, so pretty good. But anyway, so going back to the room, I was trying to decorate the study to look really pink and beautiful. I thought that I'd have it a little bit formal in here because I love that. I love the idea of having meetings and stuff like that. Like, I mean, eventually, I'm guessing eventually we will have more meetings in The Sims 4, like as we get expansion packs and stuff. Maybe we will get the ability to have a mayor at some point, because I think we could have that in The Sims 3. I mean, if I can remember, maybe it was just me playing, but I can definitely remember a mayor, and maybe that was me who put the mayor in. I'm not too sure, but I really enjoyed playing with the mayor, and I thought that was a really interesting thing to have. So maybe if we did have positions of power and stuff, somebody could live in a house like this and they could have really formal business meetings in that study. I just wasn't sure what I was going to use it for. But the humongous room here was indeed the lounge. I, of course, make the lounge the biggest room because it's the most used room. It's the room which all the Sims just go to. This is where they literally go. As soon as they arrive in a house, they always go to the lounge. I mean, for me, anyway. So that's why I put one in. I made it really big. I was also trying to make sure that I had enough wall space to put a really big television there, because I love the televisions that we got from the movie Hangout stuff pack. I think that they look really nice, even though they're probably very cinematic and it's probably not the sort of television that a normal, ordinary family would have in their house. I mean, I would love to think that I would have a television like this, but in reality, I probably wouldn't be able to fit one on my wall because it's a humongous TV to have. But I thought, you know, for this house, maybe I would just have it in here because it's a big room to fill. And also for a big family of maybe 5, I think that's what I said, maybe 5 or 6. I'm just changing my mind as time goes on. But I think that it would be really nice for them to all sit down and enjoy a nice family film or something like that. I think it's really important to have stuff like that because it's family bonding, and I like the fact that we can multitask with The Sims in The Sims 4. So the family can all sit down and they can talk to each other about what they're watching. They can have a whole conversation about it, and it's quite a social thing. I mean, even though televisions, computers are generally quite antisocial, I think when you sit down with a group of people and it's like a family setting or something, then it's definitely different. It's more social and it's not the standard antisocial behaviour that you'd see. But anyway, this was a children's room here. This was supposed to be a playroom. I thought a lot about the colours that I'd use in here. Usually I like to have wallpapers in children's rooms like this, mainly because it gives a little bit more to the room, I think, and it makes it look a little bit more decorative than it did. I was thinking a lot about dolls' houses and things that I could put in here. I'm definitely trying to think about the fact that I want to do a toy shop at some point that's really focused on dolls' houses. I think that would be a really fun idea. So I was thinking a lot about that whilst I was building this room. I did one a while ago, but it's not on the gallery anymore because it was one of my really early creations. And I took maybe a couple of my early creations down, so unfortunately they're not on there anymore. But I did think that it was necessary, especially as my catalogue was getting so super cluttered with my old creations. So I took a couple of them down, not too many though. But anyway, so I will be doing a toy shop at some point. I think that that would be an amazing idea. Maybe something that would be a little bit like Harrods in London. I don't know. I love it there. I absolutely love it there. I always had to go there when I was working because I used to be a nanny, for those of you that don't know. And when I used to go to London, it was always with the children and it was amazing. Like, it was so fun for me because I can be pretty childish when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I just love looking around toy shops and things, even though I have no intention of buying things. Like, I always look at presents that I can buy for people. And Harrods has just got to be one of the best places to do that in. So I really did used to enjoy going there. That was one of the places that I had to go. I also had to go to the Rainforest Cafe, I think maybe once a month. It was insane. I loved it there as well. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I think that that was amazing as well, but I probably got more excited than the children. So, I mean, it was fun, but probably more fun for me. But anyway, so this is the upstairs of the house. This is going to be the hallway of the upstairs. I wanted to keep this as small as I could, but I didn't want to clutter it up too much. I never ever clutter my hallways up too much because I just don't like them too cluttered up here. I also thought a lot about how this home would look upstairs, and I wanted it to really match the downstairs in the way that it just kind of flowed with the interior and stuff, so there was nothing that really changed up here. I definitely wanted some flags on the walls too, because even though the family that are going to live here might not even be in a club, I thought that they would still appreciate other clubs and maybe hope to be in those clubs. Maybe that's why they'd be there. Maybe that would be their aspiration, to be in the Paragons or something. This is definitely a Paragon home. In fact, maybe if the Paragons lived here, it would be a pretty good idea. I'm not sure. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was just putting some storage up here because you can never get enough storage in a house like this. Me for one, I think one of the things that I struggle with in the house that I currently live in is storage. I don't have enough of it. In fact, it's got to the point where I've had to start sticking things under the stairs, like my Christmas tree. It's not a real one, don't worry, because that would be weird. But I mean, still, like, there's just nowhere to put anything. And I think for a house like this, there'd have to be a lot of storage, especially with kids, because kids have a lot of toys and books and stuff like that from school. I mean, various things that I used to collect as a child. It was crazy. I used to bring so many books back and folders, and I just had nowhere to put them. In fact, I used to keep them in the garage because my mum wouldn't even let me in the house with them because there was just too many of them. But anyway, so that's what I was thinking about this whole build, and that is really why I do include a lot of bookcases and things. Mainly for that reason, mainly for the fact that it probably wouldn't be too far off what would be in a traditional styled house. That's what I was thinking anyway. But this is a bedroom which would have 2 children in, or maybe 2 adults, or teens even, I just wasn't sure. It's a little bit of an adult room, I think. It's not very child orientated whatsoever, so it is quite grown up, so maybe that would be like a preteen room, but I'm not sure. I really do hope we'll get that at some point and we'll be able to have preteens, because that would be amazing. I really hope that will happen at some point. Really hoping for that. But this was the room which would be a guest room, or I guess the wife's room, because some people do actually sleep in separate rooms and it's not actually that unheard of right now. I mean, especially for big grand houses, why not? Why not have 2 separate rooms, 2 separate places where you can have your own space and stuff? So I thought that it would be quite a good idea. And also, Bella Goth, I am pretty sure that she sleeps in a different room to Mortimer, because there are so many bedrooms in their house. So she's a role model to everybody, and why not? I mean, why not? Why wouldn't it happen? But anyway, so I guess this would be a guest room, or this would be the husband's room. I'm not too sure. I was thinking a lot about the colours that I want in this bedroom though, and the blue was looking very plain. So I did want to mix it up a little bit. I wanted to put some items in here which were a little bit unusual, and also that I hadn't used yet. I was thinking a lot about a chess table. I didn't actually put one in the end, but if you did want a chess table in this house, then you could put one in the garden, I think. Unless I put one in the lounge, but I just can't remember. I put so much stuff in these builds, it's really crazy how much I decorate them. But so what I was doing is I put a little TV in the side there, and I was thinking a lot about what I'd like above the bed there. I did actually change the bed round, so I did think that I came back to that, but you'll see what happens. This was a little storage room because I got a suggestion a while ago of somebody that said that it would be a really nice idea if I built my own walk-in closets for my builds, and it would look a little bit more realistic. So I've been trying to do that in as many builds as I can. So whenever I get a spare room, I try to do that with it, especially if I've already planned out where my bathroom's gonna be. So that's what I was really thinking for that bedroom there. It would have a walk-in closet, and it would look a little bit different, and it would have something just being a little bit unique. So this is where I was changing the bed and stuff. I think that it looks really nice, but I can't remember how it ends up looking. So very sorry about that. Oh, that's how it looks. That's how it looks. Okay, so it's like a purple and blue colour, which is actually quite nice. And I'm in love with that purple colour. I love it. I love it so much. In fact, it's one of my favourite colours now. Just decided. So this is a bathroom. This bathroom is a big room. I wanted this being the same size as a bedroom, mainly because I didn't include many bathrooms in this build. In fact, I only included 2. So I thought the ones that I did have, I wanted to make a big deal out of. I wanted this room to be really big and have pretty much everything in here that I would expect to be in a bathroom. So it's got a jacuzzi, it's got a big shower, a toilet, and a sink. And then what I did is I forgot about the sink and I came back to it. So that is the end of the build, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.